Hello there, I'm Theo and this is my love nest. Welcome and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Now that you're here, please watch it all the way to the end because today I am doing 10 misconceptions of radiography, or rather 10 things that people thought were about radiography that which really aren't. A very big shout out to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far, everybody who likes my videos, everybody who comments, and everybody who recommends my content to other people. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed already, please do click on the subscribe button and put the notification bell on so you know every time I put a video. And without wasting any time, let's get right into the 10 misconceptions of radiography. The first and most common yet funniest misconception about radiography is that radiographers work at radio stations, or a radiographer has anything to do with radios. That isn't true, and that I feel like most people thought so. When you first hear the word radiography or radiographer, the first thing that would possibly come to your mind if you've never heard about radiography and you hear somebody say radiography, you're most probably going to think media-wise, entertainment, radio, and we've all been there. I'd love to believe so because I've been there before. I also thought when I first heard about radiography, I thought radiography was about radios and being a radio presenter or anything in the entertainment field. I was one of those who thought entertainment as soon as somebody said radio. I thought radio, being a radio presenter, whatever the case would have been, but being at the radio station is what would ring mostly in my head. And I like to believe that by now most of us know what radiographers are and what radiographers aren't. But if you don't know, it's completely fine. You can keep watching this video to get an idea, and I'll definitely put up links to more of my videos that talk about radiography. The second misconception about radiography is as far as radiation is concerned, and people believe that radiation or X-rays cause cancer. And well, that is a misconception that came from, I guess, lack of in-depth knowledge, or I don't really know where this began. But one thing for sure is that radiation, or rather X-rays, can alter your cell's DNA, right? So if you are going to be getting a repetitive dose of X-ray or radiation, what will happen to your cell is their DNA will change, and there could possibly be a mutation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have cancer. One thing our lecturer once said was, you're most likely to die from a lightning strike than to get cancer from X-rays. And come to think of it, how many times do you get an X-ray in your whole lifetime? There are people who've never had X-rays done their entire life, and I know there are people who need to go regularly to get their X-rays. But the truth is, you will not immediately get cancer because you did an X-ray, but a repetitive dose of radiation to a specific area can lead to mutation of the cells, which can contribute towards cancer. But please note, I said a repetitive, and by repetitive I don't mean like you having 2 or 3 chest X-rays or a CT scan. I mean like you literally having an X-ray every second hour of your life, or every day for I don't know how long. But honestly, the chances of getting cancer from radiation or X-rays are very slim. And the next misconception about X-rays and radiation as a whole is that, or rather X-rays, is that they make you radioactive. So people believe that if I get an X-ray done on myself, I can most likely transfer the radiation or the X-ray to the next person. More like, have you ever heard of this thing that when like somebody had an electric shock and you like go touch them immediately, you're also going to get it. That's how people relate to x-rays. That's what people say about x-rays, that if you get an x-ray, you're going to transmit radiation to the next person. It's not true. It's not true. It doesn't happen like that. The truth is, you don't feel the x-rays when you get your x-ray done. Like, it's not like you get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I felt the x-ray, it just passed through or whatever. You don't feel it, and you're not gonna transmit it to the next person. It doesn't work like that, you know. If that was the case, then I guess radiographers would be at a very high risk, or rather not just radiographers, but any radiation worker, because we would you'd get an x-ray done on your patient and then you go next to them to talk to them or whatever. So you would be like, you know, accumulating all that x-ray, all that radiation, if really x-rays would make you radioactive. So no, that is a misconception, that is a myth, it is not true. And the next misconception or misunderstanding, or one of the things that people got wrong, is that radiographers are specialists. In other words, radiographers are doctors that only specialize in radiography. I will keep explaining this until the majority of the relevant population understands it. I did mention it in my first video about radiography. If you have not watched it, don't worry, I'm gonna link it in the description box or at the end or in the comment section, but it's gonna be somewhere. You can go watch that to understand. But for the purpose of this video, radiographers are not specialists, radiographers are not doctors. However, we do have radiologists. So the radiographer is a person that performs radiographic studies. Basically, it's the person that takes the pictures, it's the person that performs the exam, the person that like interacts with the patient, does the positioning and operates the machines, and Then when the radiographer is done with her part or his part, there can be a radiologist. Now, a radiologist is a doctor who specialized in radiology. So it's a medical doctor who specialized in radiology. And what the radiologist does is that they take what the radiographer did, they take their pictures and their images and they interpret them. They give a formal report, or they give a diagnosis based on what the radiographer has obtained. So basically, how to remember it for future is that the radiographer is the photographer, right? Grapher. So I am the one that works at the camera. I'm the one that tells the patient how to pose. I'm the one that operates in the room with the patient. And then the doctor is not a radiographer, is a radiologist. They are the ones that sit down and they report on the pictures that the radiographer produced. And of course, sometimes we work with the radiographer in the room, the radiologist rather, in the room. The radiologist also does interact with the patient, but 98% of the time, it's the radiographer with the patient. And the next misconception or myth about radiography is that x-rays make you infertile, child. If you have not watched that video I did about things I hate about radiography, please go watch it right now, just after this one. I did mention that one thing about radiographers is that there is always a pregnant radiographer in the workplace, in the department. If there's a female radiographer of childbearing age, I kid you not, every year you will be having a pregnant radiographer. So if really x-rays made people infertile, we wouldn't be having pregnant radiographers. We wouldn't be having radiographers get pregnant as much as they are, you know. And this misconception is actually popular everywhere within the hospital, not just outside, but like people in the hospital also believe that x-rays can make you infertile or sterile in any way. And I feel like some radiographers think so too, well, to a certain extent, because every time you walk into the ward, let's say you're going to like do a portable x-ray. If you don't know what a portable x-ray, again, check my other radiography video on Spend a Day with Me at Work. You'll see what a mobile or a portable x-ray is and what it looks like. So when you go to a mobile x-ray in the ward, as soon as you walk in or just after you've positioned your patient, the stuff in the ward disappears. Like they're like, yo, my babies, I still want to give birth. Oh, I'm protecting my babies. Oh, my eggs. They say such comments. I think they believe that if you are in the x-ray, within the x-ray, you're closer to your x-ray machine or in the room when x-rays are being positioned, you are going to kill your babies and will not have babies anymore. So every time a radiographer works in, they disappear because they want to protect their babies. But in actual fact, radiation or x-rays don't make you infertile. They don't sterilize you. Like I said, they can mutate your cells, and some cells of your body are more sensitive to radiation than others, and your reproductive cells are one of those sensitive cells. However, it's not really common that you being in an x-ray field will make you infertile. It has never happened before, unless I just don't know about it. The next radiation myth or misconception, radiography misconception, is that all scanners use radiation. That is not true. Although majority of scans use radiation, some of them, for instance, an MRI machine does not use doesn't use radiation. It is radiation free. It uses a magnetic field. And ultrasound, on the other hand, also does not use radiation. It uses sound frequency. That is why it is safe to put pregnant women under ultrasound. If you've been in an x-ray area or in a radiology department, you will see those posters everywhere that say that pregnant women are not allowed, or if you're pregnant, let your radiographer know before your exam, blah blah blah, because there is a hazard, radiation hazard to the fetus, but there's no hazard in ultrasound. And the next misconception is that radiation is only used for diagnosis. Although in most cases radiation is used for diagnosis, it is used to see what is wrong, basically. It can also be used for treatment. And I'll give an example with radiation therapy, where we use, why am I saying we like I'm a therapist? But yeah, well, therapists are radiographers. So in therapy, they use radiation for chemotherapy to eliminate cancerous cells. So in that case, we're not diagnosing anything, but we are sort of treating, because so the problem would be cancer, and in this case we would be treating the cancer with radiation. So not all x-ray machines are for diagnosis. There is actually machines which are used for treatment. And another misconception is that radiographers work with bones. So with people who, remember the first misconception was that I said radiographers work in hospital, in radio stations, or they have something to do with the radio. In cases where people have an idea of what radiography is, they will say, so if they ask you, so what do you do? And you're like, oh, I'm a radiographer. They'll be like, oh, you're the one that works with bones. You like take pictures of the bones and whatever. The truth is, we work with everything else more than we work with bones, do more chests and abdomens than we do hands and legs. We do more tests of the vascular system, the blood vessels, than we do anything that is related to bones. There's your digestive system, it's not bones. Reproductive system, urinary system, not bones. We work with that a lot, but I guess the easiest way to understand what a radiographer is the x-ray lady. And when a person thinks x-ray, they're thinking if you're broken, you need to get an x-ray. What's broken? Your bone. Hence people would think radiographers work with bones, but in actual fact we work with everything else much more than we work with bones, or maybe just as much as we work with bones. And the final misconception about radiography is that radiography is a female career, or it is a woman's job. That is arguably the case, but no, it's not a female job. Although it is dominated by women, just as much as nursing is dominated by women, there's more female nurses than there is male nurses. Just as much as there is more female radiographers than there is male radiographers. So radiography isn't really a female's job. It's just dominated by females, but there is a relatively good number of males in the field, I guess. And I'd like to believe this is the 10th. I haven't been counting. The last misconception is that radiographers are nurses or doctors who are trained to take x-rays. That is not true. A radiographer is simply a radiographer, not a nurse, not a doctor. Although there are cases where you get a patient who would call you, sorry sister, or excuse me nurse, or excuse me doctor. In cases where you really don't want to be explaining your title to the patient, you just let it slide. But in actual fact, radiographers are just radiographers. We go to school to study to be radiographers, not to be doctors. Although I know, like in the olden days, they would take like nurses and they would train them to take x-rays, and then they'll just know, if I want to get an x-ray of a chest, this is what I have to do. But then as time went on and as radiography evolved, there was more it became more and more complex, to a point where it was not just about getting the picture, it was about understanding the picture you're looking at, understanding what a pathology or a disease is supposed to look like, or an abnormality, understanding, being able to relate the patient's history and what you're seeing on the x-ray, stuff like that. So no, radiographers are radiographers. We studied to take x-rays and to, in a way, interpret them. Although we don't interpret the x-rays to the patients, and sometimes patients would feel like radiographers don't know anything, because every time a patient would ask you, so am I okay, or what do you think, we always say, I can't tell you, your doctor will tell you. And then it appears as though, radiographers just take the pictures. But yeah, it's just how ethics are. As the radiographer, I'm not allowed to disclose to the patient what their diagnosis is, or what I saw on the x-ray. No matter how bad it is or how good it is, I can't tell. Well, all I can say is, well, ma'am, we are done with the x-ray, so I'm gonna send everything to your doctor. Your doctor's gonna look at it and they will tell you the results. I cannot tell anything. What I usually tell the patient, usually when they ask, am I broken, I'll just be like, do you think you're broken? And I just let it be up to them to decide if they're broken or not. And they'll be like, yeah, I think I'm broken. Hey, and I'm like, okay, I've just sent you x-rays to the doctor. He's gonna look at them and tell you what is going on. I never say, oh yeah, you are, or no, you're not, or whatever. Sometimes though, you do have to reassure your patient and just make them feel better, because some patients actually get in there panicking, thinking, oh my goodness, I have cancer, or oh my word, I'm dying, or whatever, So the least I can do as the radiographer, after seeing what is happening, no matter how bad it is, just be like, don't worry, you'll be fine. I've sent your x-ray to the doctor and the doctor will look at it. I did not tell the patient there that, it's bad, or, oh, now you're worried about nothing, there's nothing. I just calm them down and reassure them they're going to be fine. And the doctor does the disclosing of the results. But yeah, in any case, this is all I had. These are the 10, I believe, misconceptions or myths about radiography and radiation. And if you haven't watched my other radiography videos, do check them out. And if you have not subscribed, why not? If you haven't subscribed, please do click on subscribe button and put the notification bell on. If you liked this video, please do give it a very big thumbs up, and do drop a comment down below on what misconception you had about radiography and if you know better now. And yeah, until I see you again, please continue to take care and share the love. Bye.